welcome again to the chefandthegrape.com. I am your host, Chef Christoph, and I'm lucky enough to have been given an all-access pass behind the scenes of the 2017 Vancouver International Wine Festival. The focus for this year is Canadian wines, and so I've lined up some stunning interviews with leading winemakers from across Canada and around the world. Stay tuned.
So first off, Harry, thank you so much for making the time to be with me today.
My pleasure.
Now, I have the feeling that the 2017 Vancouver International Wine Festival, it being focused on Canada, that must mean something very special to you. This is your 50th vintage as a winemaker in Canada. Can you tell me a little bit about just what it feels like to be here and to be at an event like this?
Well, this is a very proud moment. When you look at not only the numbers of Canadian wineries that are here, but the breadth of style and the quality. It's just phenomenal. You know, when I started in the business, if we'd had an event like this, could have held it in a phone booth. That the consumers have actually responded very well to what the wines have become. And as a result, we get more, we get better, we get more diverse.
What do you think was the hardest part as a Canadian winemaker about actually getting to this point? I mean, you had some tough sales calls to make in the 80s in New York and other places.
Yeah, survival was the mode. Now I go back actually even to the 60s. I went and called on restaurants in the 60s, and their comment was, but we're restricted how much we can mark these wines up. They're too cheap, so I can't make any money. They wouldn't carry them.
Right.
But it was convincing people that we actually made good wine, and the best wines we made were the toughest sell, because 50 years ago we didn't have a lot of wine consumers, and when they were buying wine, it was really more about being higher alcohol and sweet.
Right.
So the consumer has changed radically, and so has the industry. The one thing that the industry has done is always responded to what the consumer demands are, whether that's 50 years ago, today, or 50 years from now. I think that'll be true. And if we stop listening to what our consumers and our customers are telling us, we'll be in trouble. So we always have to strive for excellence. We've always got to make sure that we're giving the consumer what they want at a price point that they want to pay.
And so when you look ahead 50 years at the McWatters generation to come and what they're going to be facing in the industry, what do you think might be hurdles for them?
Well, they're going to have some of the same kind of hurdles that I've faced, but with some differences. Today, I don't drink Canadian wine. There may be people that don't drink Canadian wine, but they're not very vocal about it anymore.
Right.
Where they used to be. I can tell you stories where you'd pour somebody a wine and say, "Oh, that's really good." And then they'd look up and say, "Well, where is your winery?" I said, "Summerland." In Canada? Yeah. "Oh, I don't drink Canadian wine," and dump it out. They just told me they liked the wine until they found out it was Canadian. Now they didn't like it. We have an inferiority complex. So I don't think that my children in the future or my grandchildren will face that same kind of challenge. It'll be, well, what have you got new and exciting? Which is a question I've been asked every vintage. What's new? What's exciting? What haven't I tried before? And I think we're always going to have to be pushing that with some of it. What I like to say about what's new at our place is consistency. It's this year is as consistent as last year, that we're always looking to fine tune and push the envelope. But if somebody liked our Meritage last year, I'm pretty confident they're going to like it this year and next year, because we're not going to make radical changes to a style that consumers like unless they tell me they don't like it anymore.
Harry, thank you so much for making the time to be with me today.
My pleasure, thank you.
And congratulations on 50 vintages as a winemaker in Canada.
Thank you. It's an endurance test.
Sure. Well, first off, Craig, I want to say thank you for being here and sharing some time with me.
No worries, Christoph. Nice to meet you.
No, the pleasure's entirely mine.
Yeah.
Craig, you from Trius, you guys brought with you some really world-class sparkling wine. Why was it important for you as an Ontario producer to bring that wine here to a BC event?
Well, I think it's important to put it in the Canadian context, and I know that BC is very loyal to BC, but they're also very inquisitive, and I think it's important that people understand local, but not only local here, but also across the country.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, to try something different. So we've got a little splash of Canada here from Ontario and Nova Scotia, which I think is really adding another dimension to the tasting today.
Yeah. But there's not a long history in Ontario of world-class sparkling wine production. Who do you draw on as an inspiration to do the work that you do and to do it in such a remote region?
Well, that's interesting, Christoph. We started sparkling in 1989, a year after BC, which Sumac Ridge started, I believe, in 88.
Right.
So we've been making it as long as anybody in Canada, but not that long by world standards, of course. Yeah, I think for me, being an Aussie, part of my inspiration was working with and getting to know Ed Carr from Accolade Wines, a very large company like us, but undoubtedly Australia's greatest sparkling winemaker, and a man that decided to reset the course for what Australian sparkling wine can be.
Yeah.
Very polarising style of wine, very, very different, but undeniably excellent quality and one that brings people towards sparkling wine.
And he was a bit of a visionary, right? I mean, he was looking at sparkling wine production in Tasmania when it was still far off the radar for basically everyone else.
Absolutely, yeah. He's been poking around there for 20 years, long before other people had even heard of it. And now we're seeing great wines out of Tasmania, but only because of the pioneering efforts of a guy like Ed. So I want to bring a little bit of that to Ontario and bring it here today.
And I know that you're somebody who likes to work with organic methods.
Right.
Why are those organic principles? Why is that sustainability? Why is that important to you personally?
You know, it's very important to me. You know, conscious consumption about what we eat goes right through to the food source, whether it's a vegetable or a grape or anything. Ontario is very, very difficult to be organic. It's very humid in August. There's a lot of pressure on the vines. So to convert to organic, which we've started doing, it does take time and patience. So to say why aren't we organic or why isn't Ontario organic, you know, is very, very dangerous because it's high risk grape growing.
Right.
Very, very humid, a little bit different in BC where it's a bit drier, but we see a lot more of that, and that's a good thing. But we are pushing the boundaries of organic, and I do believe it's the right thing.
Wonderful. Greg, thank you so much for your time.
No worries, Christoph. Cheers, mate.